hello, hello. It's me again. It's me again. System. I say it's just uphill both ways all the time anymore. It just seems to be up. It just seems that way. I think the main reason I've come to the conclusion, I just feel like the main reason I do these live streams is to maintain some sort of human contact. I try going on IRC channel chat rooms. I will go to one of those dang chat rooms and people will go on there and say hello, and there will be 20 people. There'll be like a dozen people, 20 people logged on, and nobody will say a thing. Nobody will type a thing. I will sit 5 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour, an hour, 2 hours. The rage I feel over this cannot be described. These people have been given the ability to communicate and talk and reach out and touch people all over the world. And what do they do with this ability? Nothing. They don't even just turn the damn thing off. They sit there hogging bandwidth on the internet with nothing, with an empty void. It's like these pretentious a-holes who record music albums, quote unquote, nothing but the sounds of a microphone in an empty room. It makes me want to reach the screen and just beat on them until their face looks like potted meat. I'm sitting there, hello, hello, anybody here? Anybody talking? Say something. Hello, I'm desperate for human contact. Nothing. You'd kill somebody if they sat in the same room and ignored you that way. If you called somebody on the telephone and they just sat there, hello, 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 are you still there? Hello? And they just sat there and stared at their phone, you'd kill them the next time you saw them. Wasting your time, wasting bandwidth, wasting electricity, and not even wasting it in an interesting fashion. That's what's going to happen someday. It's going to be like the chat. They'll find somebody with their head stove in with their own desktop and message written across the screen in their own blood. Lurk less. Acknowledge goddamn humanity. Pardon my language. I repent, but acknowledge I exist. It's bad enough, you know, here in the live stream. I go on live stream, and you know, 5 or 6 people will log on. Maybe 5 or 6 people will log on to the chat room. And you sit there and you wait 5 minutes. You ask him, "Do you have any questions?" And he sit there and sit there and sit there. Editor. Talk. It's the only thing that keeps people sane. It's the only thing that keeps them human. Don't let people sit there and wait for you forever. Don't do, you know, answer, respond to chat room, answer phone, reply to message. At least pretend you respect me as a human being. This kind of crap has started wars. I'm not kidding you. This is what drives me so up the wall about this guy. This guy runs errands, but he treats he treats stuff I asked him to do as if it was an afterthought, something he can get around to, whenever. Look, I know personally, I have, I am not the most reliable person on the planet. It takes, I've left pillars before, and I'm ashamed of that. And I've kept people waiting and, crap like that. But this is bullcrap, I can't imagine what kind of person what kind of upbringing you have to think that being sent on a grocery run, being sent to go pick up some groceries at the grocery store, going grocery shopping, going on a grocery run for somebody is something you can put off for days. I'm not even expecting that much. I live less than a couple of miles from the Walmart, the Supermart Center. The ones with the giant grocery store and half the, everything that you could possibly want is right there. And like a mile beyond that is a Kroger's. Half a mile beyond that is a 24-hour multi-mart, and in between there are little shop marts and gas marts and everything else. But I'm like 2 miles from a Walmart. It would be well within my rights as a civilized human being to expect somebody doing a and picking up stuff at the store for me to expect them to be back within 2 hours. I can't count on this guy to be back within 2 days. And of course, there's always reasons. There's always reasons. These things that come up aren't important enough to call me and let me know, oh, something's happened. I'm not going to be able to be back in time. No, I call him, he lies to me. He tells me, oh, don't worry, I'll be there. I'll be right back to your place this afternoon with the stuff. He's never there. He told me, this is the fourth day in a row. He told me, I'll be there tomorrow morning. If he shows up tomorrow night after sunset, I'll be astounded. I've got stuff I've asked this guy to do that last year that he hasn't touched yet. Stuff I paid him to do. Some smart aleck could probably be telling, well, this is God teaching you a lesson about being responsible in the Bible. Yeah, thanks. There's real equivalency going on there. I'm sorry, I'm just very angry because I hate being unable to do anything for myself. I hate it. I hate having to depend on this guy who I can't depend on to can depend on him to do the most reasonable things within a reasonable amount of time, but I have to rely on him because there's nobody else I can find or call or even corner to get to do anything. I've lost count of the number of people of roaming this area. Everybody from teenagers to people in their 40s. I'll pay. I'll ask them to mow my lawn. I'll pay them to mow my lawn, and they vanish. Or there'll be one guy, he mows it 3 or 4. I pay him each time. He mows three or four times, then suddenly, boom, he's gone. Never find him again. Got these kids going, oh, you want me to mow your lawn? And I pay him a couple times, and then I can never find the damn kid again. I sure as heck can't do it myself. I gave him my car. He took my money, went over to Lowe's when they bought up a bunch of storm window material. He gave me the receipt. What's this? It's a bunch of storm windows. You haven't got any storm windows up. I'm going to put the storm windows up. He did this last August. Last year, a year ago. I don't have a single storm window up on this place. I paid him to clean the junk out of my van, trash out of my van. Been a year, he still hasn't touched it. Heck, I asked him to pull the thing. He's going to have to jump start it. I asked him to jump start my van and pull it around from the front and around to the parking lot. I asked him to move it less than 100 feet, and he still hasn't done that. I'm sorry, folks. Of course, if he hears this, he's going to get mad, and he's going to get all hurt and offended, and then I'm not going to be able to reach him do anything, no matter what I pay him or whatever I offer. Great, But I got to vent to somebody because I'm going out of my damn skull. For him, it's just a little something he does on the side. For me, it's a matter of life or death, pretty much. Sometimes, literally, the man goes, I'm not, I once asked him to pick up a dozen donuts and a jug of milk. A week later, he rolls in with the damn thing. And you think I'm exaggerating. I'm not. I'm literally days later. And I've called him up, he said, it's been 2 or 3 hours. Where the heck are you? He says, oh, I'm pulling into the Walmart right now. It's amazing how many times he's pulling into the Walmart parking lot right now. And yet somehow he never shows up that day with my stuff. I'll pay him, he'll mow the lawn, I'll pay him. And I said, are you going to finish trimming up? He comes around with this ride mower, rides around my 2 or 3 laps, and there'll be big, huge swatches, the weeds growing up all the way around the house, and big patches where he can't maneuver that ride mower around. You're going to come back and finish this up, right? Oh yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. And tomorrow turns into, I'll bring back the weed eater and trim this all up. And tomorrow turns into a week, turns into 2 weeks. Oh, gee, it's going to rain today. Oh, it's going to be, it's going to be up in the hundreds today. It's going to be, it's going to be cold. It's going to be hot. It's going to be rainy. It's going to be sunny. It's going to be, it's going to be light. Days, the sun's going to rise and then it's going to set. There's always a reason. And by the time, he, I don't think he's trimmed. I don't think he's actually taken a weed eater to anything. He just takes so long to frickin' do it that by the time he gets around to it, it's time to mow, run the riding mower around the lot again. I had little shrubs and bushes and stuff growing around the back of my house, right up against the wall. And every time, I've asked him again and again and again, could you please cut these down? I mean, this is stuff really you needed to take out, the big shears and chop down, or pruning, pruning shears and stuff. And oh yeah, I'll get it. And every now and then he'll show up, he'll dump a little weed killer around the edge of the house and just say, "Don't worry, I'll put some weed killer on. I'll put some Roundup on it. No problem." Those things, I've got trees. I'm not joking. I have literally got small trees growing up next to the back wall of my house. I don't have back steps anymore. They're just growing up around through it. The steps were already broken, but now you forget it. Cheetah and Tarzan are hanging out on my back lot porch. That's how bad it is. I'm serious. Every time I've quit asking him, because every time I ask him, he just comes out and sprinkles a little Roundup on the damn shit. And I got trees. You would have to take a saw and cut them down. No, he he never gets around to it. And he's always got reasons that he can't do this, that, or the other. He's got to go pick up his kids from his ex-wife. He's got, always got all these other things he's got to do. Doesn't seem to matter that I will ask him, do you have the day off tomorrow? Are you doing anything Saturday? Anything at all? Is the whole day free? Oh yeah, it's absolutely totally free. Got the whole day clear. Nothing else to do. And I'll ask him to do something. He says, sure, I'll do that. And again, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. Doesn't and before you ask, he say, I'll have to pay him, and he's like, oh no, I'll run off and do this for you. No problem. It doesn't seem to matter whether I pay him or not. Same results. And in fact, if I, God help me if I pay him in advance, because then it takes even longer for him to get back around here. Of course, there'll be stretches where he shows up. You got anything you need done? You need anything done? You need your lawnmower? You need to pick up something? And it's obviously run out of pocket money at the moment. Or he's running short, and then he decides, it's time to be urgent with a fat old shut-in. For God's sake, if you've got anybody that depends on you, anybody, an old, no matter who they are, if they need you to do something for them, if they're old, if they're sick, if they're shut in, do it. For you, it's, a distraction from your regular daily schedule. For them, it's do or die. It's something they can't do, and they desperately depend on you to show up and do it for them, and do it in a reasonable time to do it correctly. Don't leave people who depend on you hanging. I wish to God I'd learned that lesson longer when I was a little boy. I wish I had it thumped into me like I've had it thumped into me now. Maybe maybe my younger years would have been a lot different. So I don't know. I've had a lot of hard knock, bad luck runs over the course of my life. I've hit the skids so many times, but I won't deny it either. That like most people, I contribute to my own problems. I like to hope I'd never ever leave somebody who was counting on me to bring in food hanging. I feel guilty now because my sister and I, we had a dog. We had a dog growing up, and we'd forget to feed the poor thing, or we'd go out there and see, oh, he's still got dry food. We never got close enough to see that the stuff had gotten wet or gotten nasty, and I feel awful about that now. I feel absolutely awful about that. We had our backsides paddled for that, and we deserved every instant of it. We got read the riot act over that. We learned the hard way. I just like to say thank God. That poor dog, Toby was his name. He was a border collie blue heeler cross. If you know anything, those are both herding dogs. He looked more like a border collie, but blunter, and he was he was small. He was really strong. A very playful dog. Very dog. He was a beautiful dog. I miss him to pieces sometimes, and I'm thankful that he lived with us, and he lived long enough. He's after my sister got married, and she went off, and they got a place of their own, and they brought Toby out, and he finally, after years of living on a chain and runner, he was able to he had a great big old fenced in yard in his last few years, where he could be where he could be happy. We could have been a lot better to him, I think, when we were younger. You know how it is. Regrets. Childhood. I think one of the cruelest things about life, one of the cruelest things about this life, is that there is absolutely no way we can go back and try over to fix all our mistakes. No do-overs, no second chances, no try-agains, no mulligans. We're flying blind, headlong into the future, and and all the lessons life has to teach us. We only we get the lesson, we get the test before we get the lesson, which anybody could tell you is eminently unfair. I can't help wondering how many people arrive in heaven and just they meet Adam and Eve and they just want to desperately beat the crap out of them. All this crap for an apple. Just had to have that apple. Just had to go and listen to a snake. I bet those two have spent every minute in the hereafter in heaven regretting and going, if only. That's all you do when you're old. You just regret. I'm old. I'm sorry. By the standards of most of human history, in dogs I'd be dead. By the standards of most human history, yeah, I'm old. 46 years old. And there are people out there, already young people, I can hear people, oh, that's not old at all. it is, 46 isn't old when you're in good shape and good health, and your finances are stable and the roof is solid, and your life is in order, and and you've got and you've done all the whole family thing, and you've got your life together. That's not old at all when you've got pretty much everything squared away. But when your body is just basically shot to hell, just basically your body's basically decided to crap out on you in every possible way, and your house is a dump because you can't because you never got in the habit of being a just meticulous house cleaner, and now you can hardly do any house cleaning anyway, and the roof's leaking, and the plumbing had to be fixed, and and you can't get your lawn mowed, and your cars are falling apart in front of your house because you can't get it even to the driveway. When nothing will last or hold, and you're just waiting for the next shoe to drop, for something else to break or tear or rust or leak or short out. And you can't get your crap all in one sock to save your life. And you're old and sick and fat and tired. 48, 46 years old. Might as well be 100. My metabolism went, I turned 30 and my metabolism went to hell. I started packing on pounds like there was no tomorrow. Then, I've had 2 different hernias since then. The superstructure of my body, but just basically started rupturing. My gallbladder crapped down on me, and now my kidneys. I've had to, I've had to have doctors root around with a rock scooper in my kidneys now. My legs, my lymph glands don't work right, so my legs are swollen the size of Christmas hams. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm talking the big 50-pounders. Going bald. My hair is almost solid. My hair is solid. Gray now. Most, gray and white, mostly white. What's left of it. I'm going bald too. My teeth are rotting, falling out. It's a mercy. They don't hurt me. They don't hurt at all, which is a mystery I can't figure out. And ironically, that means I can't do anything. If they hurt, the local dentist could charge Medicaid for pulling them. But because they don't hurt, Medicaid does not regard that as a necessary operation. They'll pay to have my teeth cleaned, and they'll pay to have rotting teeth pulled, while you lie there screaming in agony. But anything between those two extremes, you're out of luck. I mean, I had my heart blow out about 10 years ago. Tachycardia. Basically, I just woke up one night and the wiring in my heart basically was firing out of just something like 120 beats a minute or higher. Actually, I think it was closer to 200. And I thought I was having a heart attack. I had the next closest thing, tachycardia. They had to run a wire up inside my veins up to my heart and cauterize the nerves on my heart to stop it. And so, I'm running on a bad, I'm running on a jerry-rigged ticker. And what pisses me off? What gets me the most is that I have not lived a wild and crazy rebellious life. I mean, I've never touched drugs of any kind unless they came with a doctor's prescription for something I was suffering. Never touched it. I never touched. In the course of my life, I have alcohol 2 times. I tasted actually. I tasted wine once, and I tasted beer once, just to find out what they tasted like. They taste like crap, by the way. And I never drank alcohol, never did drugs. I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. And, I have never. I'm still a virgin. I've never had sex, much less have I, never slept around. I've lived a clean life. And here I sit with my internal organs, just crapping out on me one at a time. And, just nearly 500 pounds, my internal organs crapping on me all at the same time, just one at a time. My legs so swollen that I can't even wear pants, and forget finding shoes. I'll walk around barefoot all the time. I have to. I can't even find flip flops that'll fit over my my deformed feet now. And you'd think that at the very least that my dedication to abstinence would have paid off, but no. I've got a body shot to hell and not even had any of the fun that came with running it down, And it just angry. I could spend my I could spend my life just ranting at the sky about it. Just how unfair know for a fact that somebody would be lecturing me right now if they were here, that I should be more grateful for what I have. And when I can, when I can stop and think about it, yeah, I am. I'm thankful. It could be a lot worse. But I gotta agree with Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes. It could be so much better too. And you look out there and you see people that just live like the devil, and they're freaking indestructible. And you want to go, what's the lesson here, God? You look at the members of you look at the members of Rolling Stones. I mean, my God, those men are in their 70s. Literally, they're in their 70s. They're old enough to be great grandfathers, and they spent most of their lives, doping up, smoking, doing drugs, boozing it up, and jumping on every roadie they could get, and just living wild, hedonistic life, and they look like beef jerky, but there they are, still running around like maniacs on a rock and roll stage, at an age where the odds should have caught them 5 times over. And you can't help but going, you're only human. You stand there and you go, okay, what's going on here, God? That doesn't seem quite right. You look at these celebrities. You look at these celebrities, just skanks and manhoes, and nothing seems to touch them. They live a lifestyle that should make them look like a black tar heroin junkie. No, they're still the beautiful people, and they still get to work in limousines. And the shoes that the average woman these skanks wear at the Academy Awards, their shoes alone are worth more than my house. You see these men living you got these politicians that crooked, vile, horrible people. And we live in a country where we not only believe in justice, but we have deliberately designed our government so that we could theoretically throw the baggage out. It was supposed to be that politicians who prove themselves untrustworthy or corrupt or incompetent would be voted out of office. And we've got people in there that, like Ted Kennedy, Ted the swimmer, Ted Backstroke Kennedy, the boozing womanizer who was basically, guilty of involuntary manslaughter because he left an innocent woman to die in a drowning in a vehicle in the middle of a lake. And what happens to him? Nothing. He lives the rest of his life in the halls of power as a senator. And he's never voted out of office, despite everybody knowing exactly what he is. And he dies of old age. Right there. Sitting on his throne. Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, the things they got up to. My God, there's a trail of corpses behind those people. The number of people who fell down an elevator shaft onto a hail of bullets, people that mysteriously turn up dead around those two. They have victims, rape victims. I mean, Bill Clinton was a rapist, and where are they? Millionaires, and still shuffling around the edges of the halls of power. And it was only by the thinnest of margins that we avoided having that horrible hag running this country. As it is, between her gig in Congress and Bill Clinton's 2 terms in a row, the trail of damage they have left behind them in our government, almost 20 years long. And you sit there and you hear the wicked shall never prosper, and you watch them do just that. And it kind of kills you a little bit. You die a little bit inside every time. I'm not going to get anything done today. Tonight. I know I'm not. Things have not gone right, and aren't looking too good tonight either. Waiting for papers from the government, copies, transcripts of my tax returns for last year. The welfare people want to, I'm on food stamps. I get about $200 a month for groceries, and it's times comes up for a review. They want. I managed to find a couple of receipts for my for my lot rent for my trailer, and they want that, and they also want a copy of last year's tax returns. And turns out I don't have a copy anywhere. My filing system is dump everything into a 2-drawer filing cabinet and then sort it out when you need it. But I failed to make a copy of the return I sent in. So I've got to wait for the IRS to send me a copy, and it's probably going to get here a little bit late. They got to make sure that I haven't won the lotto in the past 3 or 4 months. Because I'm obviously living high on the hog, and it should make people suspicious. I don't like the fact that I'm on welfare, that I'm on food stamps. But I'll take them. I am in no position to be too proud to take them, and I refuse to let myself feel guilty about it. There's an argument, Ayn Rand made this argument. She pointed out that the only, if you want to talk about the ethics of the only people who have a moral right to avail themselves of welfare are the people who voted against it. people, and you go, wait a minute, what does that mean? And he says, well, think about it. The people who voted against welfare, whether you're talking Social Security or food stamps or anything else, they are the only ones who openly declared that they did not want to participate. They are the only members of society that openly declared that they did not want to participate in legalized plunder. And so they are the unwilling participants of the entire system. Everybody said, yes, let's take money from other people and give it, from one group of people and give it to others. And the one person that said no is participating involuntarily. And therefore, the money they take from him is absolutely, involuntarily, completely involuntary, and his vote reflects his conscience. So he is the only one that is ethically legitimate in claiming any benefits from the system. As long as they continue to ask that the system be stopped. I will add that much. And I've always been clear. I've always, I've known for a long time. The welfare system. And as I've pointed out, I would not need government welfare if it weren't the existence of government welfare. And I can say that with 100%, 110% accuracy. I can say that with 100%, 110% legitimacy. Because you see, the reason that I am constantly in such financial straits is because as a self-employed individual, a freelance artist, I am expected to pay my own, I am expected to make quarterly tax payments, which include Social Security tax payments. And even though I am literally sitting on, at the best years, I am sitting on the bottom rung. I am literally on the poverty line, and most of the time I'm below it. So I should not be paying any taxes at all, but because I am self-employed, they say I've got to pay into Social Security system, which I, even people on a salary pay into Social Security. They just don't see the money. It just never reaches them. It goes out of their boss's pocket. It's part of the salary. Never makes it actually into their hands. But still, I'm supposed to save up, pay them Social Security, and because I am living on such a narrow margin, I don't have the money to make quarterly returns. I don't have the money to pay Social Security every 4 months, every 3 months, and I'm always on the edge. There's always something that needs to be paid now, like rent, electricity, internet connection, so I can keep in business, so I have to pay. I have to make the usual annual return. My returns are so small that I don't get penalized, but I still have to end up making the April 15th tax return. And I have been, I am paying back taxes. I have been paying back taxes for over 5 years now, and sending the government up, around $100 every month, and I'm overdue this month. I'm overdue by almost 10 days now. So I've been sending them $100 a month for 5 years, so you can imagine what that's doing to my finances. And every year it compiles up. I owe over $7,000 in back taxes. This despite I am barely making enough to qualify as poor. And why is that? Social Security tax. I would not need food stamps if it weren't for the welfare system in the first place. They're just recycling my money and giving it back to me in the form of chits I can only spend on trees. That is what socialism is. That is what the welfare system is. That is what democratic socialism is. Is basically the government trying to lift everybody up by have everybody lift themselves up by their own bootlaces. I could strangle FDR for introducing Social Security. I could. It's a pyramid scheme. When Franklin Delano Roosevelt created Social Security and pushed it through a stupid Congress, they had something like 10 taxpayers for every one person that would be on Social Security. Now we are down to about 3. 2 or 3 people for every person on Social Security. And in spite of my financial circumstances, in spite of my physical condition, if I were to apply for Social Security, they would turn me down. It's basically like they turn down the first time you apply, and they advise a lawyer before you proceed on this merry-go-round. And it usually takes applying 3 or 4 times. I mean, you could come in there with limbs missing, half your head sawn off and replaced with a steel plate, and they'll still fight you tooth and nail before they'll give you your own money back. And what's worse is I looked up my benefits. I'd make about $780 a month in Social Security benefits, which comes out to $250, about $200 below the poverty line. And if I made any more money than that, they'd cut my benefits. So, even if I did win, I'd still lose. Meanwhile, the people that are orchestrating this mess, Congress, Senate, House of Representatives, the government in general, they don't pay into Social Security. They don't have Medicaid. They're not on the government. They're not on Obamacare. Your congressman, your senator, and your representative congressmen have their own special Social Security account and their own medical care and their own, and of course thousands and thousands of dollars in salary out of our pockets. They don't send their kids to the schools they build us. They don't live in the neighborhoods they create. They don't go unarmed out into the community after they've taken our right to bear arms away. They are a self-anointed royalty. And for all the bullshit we make about elections, you have a better chance of one of them being struck by a meteor than of them being ousted for being corrupt or incompetent. People wonder why people like me sit around and say life isn't fair. And the fact that we sit here ranting and raving about it. Welfare doesn't just encourage people to stay in poverty, it keeps them there. And it penalizes people. It penalizes people who try to lift themselves out of poverty. They find out that you're making, they find out that you started making money, they'll yank the rug out from under you. And not gradually either. I once worked in a place where the boss found, that she had, I wasn't making very much, I was barely getting by, and she actually offered to cut my hours so that I would qualify for food stamps and financial aid. And no, she wasn't joking either. She wasn't being sarcastic, and she wasn't making a veiled threat. She was sympathetic and wanted to help me out, and she offered to cut my hours so that I could get on the dole. You know what the sad thing is that all these people, I'm getting tired of people getting mad. How dare these burger flippers go on strike for $15 an hour? We don't pay our soldiers $15 an hour. And I'm like, why the hell don't you pay your soldiers $15 an hour? You want a cookie for being a tight-fisted bastard? Here, let me break it down for you. You know why they're asking for $15 an hour? Because that's the equivalent of what their grandparents were making back in 1964. Minimum wage in 1964 was $1.25. This was back was made with Oreo messing. This was back when our dollar and that real in our quarters and dimes. And back in 1964, they made $1.25 an hour, which is the equivalent of $15 today. And no matter how you count it either, you count, you go and you made $1.25 an hour. That's 5 quarters, 5 1964 quarters, 5 1964 silver quarters. The melt value of 5 1964 quarters, just as metal, just as silver, is just about $15 today. Yeah, they have the people on the bottom rung of our society have every right to be pissed. These people who work in Burger Kings and janitors and burger flippers and trashmen and all this other crap, they have every right to be angry, because they are only, if they're on minimum wage, they're making $7.50 an hour, half what minimum wage workers made in 1964. So when they talk about how it's impossible to live on minimum wage, they're not just talking out their ass. Their solution, demanding that we raise the minimum wage, is a terrible one, but their complaint is legitimate. Their cause is just. They're all sitting about how lazy they are and how they don't deserve it. I'm sorry, was Grandpa lazy? Did Grandpa deserve $15 an hour? Suppose you worked for somebody and they paid you in coupons, and they told you when you started working, they told you these coupons will be worth $10 a piece, and they gave them to you, and you on payday, and they're only worth $5. And you go, wait a minute, I worked for these coupons, $10, they're only worth, what is this? And they give you, and they look at you and say, "What are you, lazy, stupid? If you want more money, get a better job." You would be angry, and you would rightfully conclude that you were being cheated. And the reason that, that's precisely what's happening to these people. They're being paid in dollars that are worth half what they were just 40 years ago. And they're looking, what the hell is this? And what that is what the Federal Reserve is doing. The U.S. government, in cooperation with the privately owned Federal Reserve, put us on a fiat currency system, which is, you look it up on, there's a very good summary in Quentin Quinn's Space Ranger, which describes how the plutocrats of one world looted the rest of the planet, but with fiat currency. The government and the Federal Reserve have basically been trading monopoly money to us for real, for gold, for goods, for services, for merchandise, and sticking it in their pockets while the American dollar spirals down a drain as a consequence of them flooding us with more and more and more paper money. And even if they went out and they magically made half all that paper money disappear, the value of the dollar would not go up for very long, because the dollar doesn't have value. It's an IOU that the government printed out through the Federal Reserve. It's an IOU on revenue that hypothetically is supposed to be collected sometime in the future, but in reality never will, because every year they print out more IOUs. I will gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. And every Tuesday they tell you the same thing. They will gladly pay you next Tuesday for a hamburger today and for the hamburger they got last week. And then the next week, it's the same story over again. That's fiat currency. The people, the American people, are slaving away. The American people are slaving away, great and small, whether you're a billion-dollar tycoon or a burger flipper. They are working for money that the government is deliberately devaluing, shrinking, even as they're paid it, paid in snowflakes. And the government is running around with a hairdryer. Woo, you're not making quite as much as you used to. You haven't got quite as much as you saving. You better work harder. Am I painting a real picture for you here? Are you getting the concept? The Federal Reserve, in collaboration with politicians and bureaucrats of government, are looting us. Through and through the fiat currency. Fiat currency is basically a hidden tax. When inflation happens, the value of the dollar doesn't evaporate into thin air. The wealth that it represents does not evaporate. It just shifts over into the hands of the government and into the hands of the people who own the Federal Reserve. Surprise, the Federal Reserve is not a branch of the government. Never was, never will be. It is a privately owned bank. What's more, you do not know who owns it. The names of the stockholders of the Federal Reserve are a tightly guarded secret. Nobody knows who they are. Not the government, not the CIA, not the FBI. Nobody. And it's run by people. Let's put it this way. George Soros. Look him up. That's the kind of guy running the Federal Reserve. That's the kind of guy that runs the banks scattered all over the globe that get all these countries to shift over to fiat currency and are now being railroaded into ruin. And you'll just 90% of what I say is going to be dismissed by anybody who hears it. Oh, he's a tinfoil hat loony, tinfoil hat. Even though it's happened already, it's happened to other countries, and it will happen again. This is what happened to Germany. Okay, the Weimar Republic, the collapse of the German Mark? They got off the gold standard. They went on fiat currency. They banks and governments love fiat currency. They love it because it's basically a way for them to spend more money than they actually have. You've got these so-called economists who ought to be bitch slapped for their stupidity and thrown out of the Ivy Tower for their ignorance because they're frauds. If they think, and they say that, oh, the gold standard is terrible. The gold standard is so rigid. The gold standard is inflexible. You know what the translation is for into real words for the word inflexible? It means that a banking system that is forced to stick to the gold standard cannot spend more money than it has. And that's just so unfair on the wonderful, well-meaning people in government who want to do so many things for us by spinning up make-believe money. Fiat currency is the system whereby they can make-believe money out of thin air. They collect $1 in gold. They print $2 in fiat currency. They collect $1 in gold in real wealth, and they print out $2. And they distribute it by spending it. If you give me a dollar bill and I run it through a Xerox machine and make 2, and then I give you those 2 Xerox paper dollars back to buy a sandwich off of you, I've cheated you. You're not richer, you're poorer. Now keep doing that over and over and over again. Eventually you'll have thousands and thousands of pieces of paper that aren't worth anything. And the only thing keeping the system running is the fact that everybody, especially the government, pretends as hard as it can that the dollar bills are actually worth something. The dollar bills are nothing but receipts for money that never, for wealth that is never created, and that never will be. And banks figured out long ago that they could loot the populace by printing out thousands and thousands of receipts and spending those instead of spending the actual contents of their vault. And so ancient Greece collapsed, and so Germany collapsed, and so America is going to collapse, and so will everybody else that uses the American dollar as a standard, which is everybody. It's not that it will. And meanwhile, they are bringing the rest of us into poverty. They don't destroy the wealth we created with fear. They seal it. The same as if they walked into our bank vault and stole the money and stuck it in their pocket and walked out and spent it themselves. Because they turned our money into vaporware. You want to know the reason? That's the reason that times are so tight, that making a living is so hard, that getting ahead is almost impossible. Unless you are one of the lucky few who manage to leverage like an absolute fiend and stay ahead of the curve. You realize that Bill Gates. Think about it this way: Bill Gates, richest man, or just about the richest man in America, multi-billionaire. He is literally so rich that buying a brand new Lamborghini has about as much financial impact on him as buying a Bic pen would have on one of us. Proportionately speaking. And he's got billions and billions of dollars. And those billions of dollars sitting in the bank, thanks to the machinations of fiat currency, from the time he made them to today, you consider all the money he had in 2000. If he had just stopped there, just imagine that he stopped there, and by 2017, he would effectively have about 25% less in the bank than he put in. Basically means that 25% of his wealth disappeared out of his vaults. And it didn't just disappear into non-existence either. The government transferred it to itself by printing more money. And spending as if it had earned it. I've harped on this before, and I've harped on it all the time. But some days it feels like I'm shouting into the void. Nobody seems to be responding. Nobody seems to be doing anything. The most you'll see is a couple of financial advisors on the internet, offering various programs on how to build a shelter for when the dollar collapses. Nobody's fixing it. Nobody's addressing it. Nobody's admitting to the guilt. And nobody's trying to change it. You know who the last person was that tried to save this country from that? Ted Kennedy. JFK. John F. Kennedy. The last bill he signed was one that the government was to start printing its own money instead of the Federal Reserve, and basically he was going to switch the creation of money over to the government, and that it was going to be based on the gold standard again. And it was only to be based on the gold standard. And not a month later, he was assassinated. Now, I've seen some articles floating around suggesting that Donald Trump is going to do something very similar. He's going to try and introduce a secondary currency, a gold standard currency. Somehow. I haven't seen much details beyond that, but if I was him, I would be having a food taster following him around. Maybe wearing a frickin' Kevlar helmet while he was at it. Archangel, you're still there. You know, everybody always asks that. Where do you get your inspiration? Where do you get your ideas? What inspires your work? I'll tell you. The thing that inspires me is things that, fuels my creation is, well, if you look at a fanfic writer, it becomes obvious. We're inspired by the artwork of other people. And I say that's true for everyone, whether they create knockoff works or not. I'll read a book or see a movie, and if it's a really good book or movie, I'll be inspired by the ideas in it. Or even if it's a bad book or movie, if there are some interesting ideas in it, I'll be inspired by those ideas and think, I could do this better. And here's how. That's the grand sum total of it. Art inspires art. Good art. Ideas inspire great art. Stuff they're putting out in these modern art, not art. The only thing that modern art inspires is con artists. I'm sorry, it's a con. It's a big con. It basically consists of putting whatever crap you can find in frames and up on pedestals, sticking it in a gallery, and gathering all the stupidest rich people you find together, and stuffing them full of caviar and cheap champagne, and hoping, and then drunkest one there, and convincing him that he can impress all his friends with how intellectual he is by buying whatever crap is hanging on the wall in front of him. With the invention of the National Endowment for the Arts, and it's a paperwork scam. You don't even have to work for it. You just have to make some crap, and then mail a form letter off to a government bureaucrat. And there is nothing with less artistic and awareness than a bunch of paper pushers in an office someplace. I gotta wonder though, these endowments for the art. I've looked at it. You're supposed to spend all that money on the art project. So how is it these people are living off these damn things? Really, how? Because it's kind of hard to write they want the receipts, and it's kind of hard to disguise a rent payment, as a expense in your sculpture of a dildo. or whatever it is you created. How do they pull that off? Wish I knew. Don't know. Don't understand it. I've thought for years. If I could figure out how to get away with it, I would do it. I would. I'm shameless. I would go to these. I would go to the NEA, and I'd take them for whatever money they were handing out. Better me than some other jackass, as far as I'm concerned. Like taking money away from the. Taking money from the government is like taking sharp, pointy things away from an idiot. If I can't manage to wrangle a way to keep them from getting the money in the first place, I'll settle for taking it out of their pocket. But I'm just I just don't have the chutzpah to do it. I really don't. I don't have the unrelenting malevolence and sneakiness and I couldn't pull scams and cons for a living. I couldn't. I'd crack I'd fold the toast within a week of it. I can't deal with it anymore. The car's a fake. The painting's bogus. I can't keep a poker face. No, I just couldn't. Half my problem is that I can't keep my mouth shut or my face straight when the chips are down. I'm more inclined to blurt out the first thing that comes to mind. I'm more honest that way, but I'm also a lot more abrasive. Is anybody still there? I see 3 people in channel. So, Ronry. I have no idea who is actually in channel. You know, in IRC chat rooms, they have a little thing on the side that shows who's logged in. The YouTube channels don't have that, which is kind of annoying. I'm like, add this, please. I don't know if you can hear me or not. I said at the beginning of this, please talk. Please talk. There's only 2 of us here, you and me. I don't know who you are. I hate that. Before I go hiring somebody to do odd jobs for me, I need to, I really need to, get a little bankroll together, a little cash money, set aside 10 to do this, you need to do that, and, you know. Old, worn out. Guy says he's going to be by 9:30, 10 in the morning. Drop my stuff off. It's basically stuff, like cups and plates, and I hope I remember to include trash bags in that list. Things like that. But I was going to ask him to pick some stuff up for me at the store. Get some food. Most of my refrigerator is pretty much emptying out. And got lots of soup. I got lots of soup, a lot of cans of soup. And got some beans. Got some, I got like flour and stuff and baking stuff. I could probably whip something up. It's just I've been craving some stuff lately too. This is stuff that I can just heat up and eat, There's some things I can't make here because I don't have the ingredients. And you're like, that'd be good. I hate asking him to go grocery shopping. I hate it. I hate it. Because when I finally break down and ask him, it's because my refrigerator is almost empty, and I'm getting down to the canned goods, and I'm trying to, put together a meal, and I'm out of ketchup even at this point. And I ask him to pick up something, and I ask him to pick. I need ketchup. I need a lot of ketchup. A big bottle of ketchup. A little squeeze bottle. Crap like that. I asked him to pick up some Velveeta. One of those big blocks of Velveeta. Well, he comes back with a little bitty block of cheddar, no bigger than my hand. I said, you can't tell the difference between this and Velveeta. And by that time, it had been like 6 days since I sent him off to shop. So I wasn't up to arguing with him about it. Or asking him to go back and get the right thing. I hate having somebody else shop for me. I hate it. And it drives me crazy is that, Walmart and Kroger's and everybody else, they're advertising, oh, we have grocery delivery in many areas. And not not on this side of the state. I wish they'd quit bragging about their services and start providing them. Everybody gripes about Walmart. Everybody, the big, bad, evil Walmart. The one, that big, bad, evil, horrible company that provides jobs and cheap, and a vast selection of cheap merchandise that poor people can afford. Those hamburgers, And quite frankly, I've looked up the real numbers. Walmart's than anything else out there right now. Better, in fact, in many states than the minimum wage by a good margin. But I hate Walmart because it's mean to their employees, or because or because it runs other companies out of business. They hate it because it's successful. There's nothing that a socialist hates more than seeing the lie they live proven wrong. And nothing proves the lie wrong faster than a business or an individual being prosperous. And worse, sharing the wealth through the free market. This place would be a dump without Walmart. This town would. They hate Walmart. They love the shit out of Whole Foods. And the people running that are just fraud and a half. morons. This is what 100 years of government-run public schooling will get you. People who run their entire base, their teacher taught them. They think their college professor is Jesus. Nobody's ever expressed these before because they're idiotic. Because the ideas, all these novel ideas, one, they're as old as dirt, they've been tried before and they don't work, and they're stupid. They don't want new ideas. They want the same old feel good. I'm angry about so many things. I'm just cranky right now. I want some fried chicken. I want a bucket of KFC. I'd love to have a box of cream-filled donuts, or heck, I'd like a gallon of milk so I got something to serve my breakfast cereal with. But I am not 2 miles from a grocery store and I can't get to it. My vehicle doesn't run, and if it did run, I couldn't drive it. And it's right there. There's no restaurants that deliver around here either. Chinese takeout? No, it's not here. They don't have it. We got Chinese restaurants. And I think a couple of small ones, they'll do takeout, but they don't do delivery. Nobody does delivery. The only people that do delivery, peace. And if their pizza doesn't agree with you, you're out of luck. It's frustrating. This is why I hate whenever I lived someplace that I was always within walking distance. I played phone, picked it myself over my mother's. Oh, well, are you really sure you want to live there? And I lived there, and I was within walking distance of a grocery store, a dollar store, a laundromat, a library, a post office, a Chinese restaurant. I loved eating at that Chinese. Oh, I loved that restaurant. And within a short bus ride of everything else. I was within a long walk of Kroger's, a couple more restaurants, a donut shop, everything. I lived in Charleston. I had everything right there. When my parents talked me meeting with them, we've got a plan, to help you out, and my stupid greedy ass jumped on it. They're going to give me a chunk of land, and they gave me a chunk of land, and I ended up selling it years later. And well, anyway, And I ended up moving with him. Where did I end up living? Same kind of place my father always loves to pick. You know, we've lived in a dozen different towns over the course, and every time my dad has his way, we end up in some armpit of a town, way out in the boonies, where there is literally absolutely nothing. If there's one stoplight, it's by divine providence. We lived in Harrisville, that whole place, little bit town, you know, like maybe two stoplights in the whole place. The streets rolled up at 5 p.m. No business, no businesses that were doing any hiring, no jobs. Then, there was a time we lived in Pennsboro, which town, but the railroad had been shut down for years, decades, and it was a dying town. No business in there except, you guessed it, a pizza place. No, no jobs, and 100 miles to the next town over. And then we lived on. Then there was a time we lived on Mud River. That was so far back. We lived in the church basement in one of these little hillbilly places. It wasn't even a town. It was a couple of houses. Fourth people. Kind of county where the family tree does not fork. The only businesses were two gas stations right from across from each other, and a post office around the next hill. It was back in the hills. The rainbow came in black and white. You could sit out there on the porch and watch the sun set between the house and the road. That far back in the hills. And he was, and Dad always getting mad at me because, why don't you find a job? 50 miles one way to the nearest city within, Then they lived in Lowell, Ohio. Another little one stoplight armpit town that just would not die. It's one of those towns that's constantly dying, never dies. That place had one. Let's see, it had a dollar store and a diner. And these little bedroom where you lived, where you slept, and then you drove 50 miles to the nearest town for your job. And this was the place they wanted me to move. I moved in with them. So I have better prospects. You can guess how well that went. My dad hates this. He's of the deluded. They're living in a small town. Everybody's more friendly and they'll help you out more. And city people just step over you. Meanwhile, we were living in a church basement on the opposite side of a hill, where a woman accidentally shot her son-in-law 5 times. Just downhill from where she lived, and on the opposite side of a hill, where some mentally challenged man beat his father's brains in with an axe. Just wonderful, warm, loving, and where not only did the family trees not fork, if you were from out of town in less than 2 generations, you were still the new people, and nobody trusted you. Just warm, thriving community where the biggest day of the week was the first of the month, where they got their what they call crazy chicks. He's Dad just goes out of his way. God-forsaken, remote, hopeless, no business, no prosperity, armpit little towns and locations to move to and live in. And from the time I turned 16 on, it was a constant gripe at me about, "Why haven't you got a job yet?" And usually he'd have a complete meltdown and start, there was one time he had a complete meltdown and started yelling at me and screaming at me. I just didn't want to work. 2 days later, I had my first job, finally got a job interview. Becoming a man was just so wonderful. Childhood was so wonderful. Growing up, being an adult was just, perfect, My father has always been and always will be a man who will never ever listen to anybody else unless it's the last possible option on earth. And when it all goes wrong, God help anybody who dares to say, "See, I told you so." He just he spent his whole life coercing me into things, pushing me into things I did not want to do, that I knew I would be bad at doing, and that I wanted to avoid at all possibilities. And then he'd push me into it, he'd force me to do it, and then it would go bad, and then he would have a meltdown where he ranted and raved at me about how I had contributed nothing to the effort. Even though it would be something that I knew nothing about, had no clue how to do, he had never, he never really taught me anything about this sort of thing, and he would still push me into it. And he'd try and pretend that it was my choice too. "Hey son, would you like to do a musical number in front of the church for the next service? I'm sure you'd like to do that. You play your trombone, And I'd say, "No, I really don't want to do that." And he said, "Well, you're doing it." I hope I sucked. I hope it was a painful ordeal to listen to me play. In case you haven't guessed, I'm kind of bitter about some things. Is it justifiable? I don't know. You'll have to judge for yourself. I never learned until it was too late to trust my own decision, to trust my own judgment on things. I never learned until it was too late that if I want to have any peace of mind, to have a decent life, to have things turn out the way I wanted them to, that I needed to trust my own judgment and insist on doing things my own way. If I had done things the way I'd wanted to originally, my entire life would have been different. trust, when it comes down to it, when your family, your loved ones, no matter how much you may love them, and yeah, you love your family even just as much as you want to strangle them all. Welcome to life, Paradox 101. But insist on do things your own way. Do things your own way. Make your own decisions. Choose your own path. Choose your own home. Choose where you choose where you live. You choose what education you get. You choose what career you follow. Career path you choose and follow. Because at the very least, even if it all goes wrong, you know it was your own choice. And I can tell you from experience, personal experience, it is 1,000 times easier to live with the bad choices you made than to live with the bad choices somebody else talked you into. Because they're not your choices. It's, you're living with somebody else's bad choices. It is 1,000 times easier to live with your own mistakes, and to live with your own bad choices, than to live with the bad choices other people made for you. I would have been living entirely differently if I'd have stuck to my guns. I didn't want to live in this mobile home where I am now. I had my eyes on a trailer, one that I would have been able to put in my van. It would have been about half the size of the mobile home, but it would have been mobile. What I have always wanted, which would have been more affordable, more efficient. It was just what I wanted. But the instant my mom clapped eyes on it and heard what I wanted to do, she threw a fit, and then she got to Dad, and Dad at me, and the next thing I know, I'm buying a mobile. I'm having to co-sign a loan to buy a for a $3,000 loan to buy a trailer, a mobile home. And here I am, and I'm stuck. Because mobile home is a misnomer. They ought to call it temporary home. Because I could never afford in 1,000, not in 100 years, not 1,000 years, I couldn't get together the money necessary to try and move. I'm stuck here. And so if things really go south, I'm just going to be stuck here sitting on my rotting porch watching it all come, watching the sky fall. Do you get what I'm saying here? It's not the worst thing in the world, but it wasn't my choice. And it closed off a lot of options for the future that I would have had if I had stuck to my guns. The trailer I was looking at, it was a used one. It would cost me $600. I could have paid for that in a couple of paychecks. Instead, I spent a couple of years shuffling money to the bank to pay for a mobile home that is literally as old as I am. Literally, it's a 1971 model. Holes in the ceiling, hole in the roof, holes in the floor. This place is long, it's holding together, but it's well past the age that most people junked it. And a lot of the, I've been here for 5 6 years now, And there are times I still regret not sticking to my guns. Because my little mobile home, that little trailer, I could have parked it in, I could have moved it into any mobile home lot, and I could have done what I always wanted to do, traveled, seen the world, seen America at least. But I got stuck here, and my health shot downhill, and here I am. Fat, old, crippled trailer trash. Tell you one thing, that van out there was my choice. I had a van. It's a 1992 model. All it needs is a new battery. Away she go. She's not the best, but she needs cleaning up, and she needs a repair done to the driver's seat. The back has to be propped up with a brick, and she needs and there's rust along the sides, and she needs full body makeover basically. But I've never regretted buying her once. I figured out, I saw that van. I said, that's mine. And I paid, I think, how much? I forget how much I paid for $1,500, I think. No, not even that much. Far less than that, actually. But I ended up buying her, and I've never regretted it because, the price of gas may go up and down, but the size of everything you have to move doesn't. A whole load of groceries, or a new bed, or furniture, or suppose you had to pick up 5 or 6 people, give them a lift. I could do it with that. And I've never been happy. There were days, when I was really depressed because I was, still on the skids, living with my parents, and everything just nothing seemed to go right, and I was just worn down and beat. And there were days I'd just sit out in my car, sit out in my van, look, this is mine. I was living in my parents' place. Nothing, when you live in your parents' place, you have no self-esteem, you have no dignity. You just, and no matter what you do, no matter how you live, it just eats away at you, robs you, takes away. Your string, it just sucks away your will to live, because you're not a man anymore. You're not anymore. You're parental property again. Oh man, but there were days I would sit out there, and I'd sit out there in a van, and I'd say, this son of a bitch is mine. Every inch of it, mine, 100% mine. I can do whatever I want with it. And there are days that I just try and pulling myself together, and I'm so depressed. I sit here, and I'm sitting here in this mobile home, and it's mine. Every inch of it, every rusting nail, every worm-eaten, moldy wooden panel. Mine, and all the crap in it, all the junk piled up in it, and mine. I can, I don't. It doesn't belong to anybody. Nobody can lay claim to it. Pisses me off that I'm sitting on a rented lot with it, and there's not a dang thing to do about that. I'm going to die paying somebody else for the privilege of taking up a few hundred square feet of space. That makes me madder more than anything, is that I could have been doing something and not been beholden to anyone, but because I ended up like this in a so-called mobile home can't be moved, I am going to be belonging to some some uh, land rat out in California, sending them money till the day I die, renting the air I breathe. But here I am, and I can look at the walls in this place, the floor walls, and it's mine. I own something. I'm not just borrowing it from my parents or renting it from some landlord. Sometimes that's the only thing that just holds my self-esteem together. I paid for this over time. I paid for it. I worked at that job at Big Lots and paid it off. Every nut, bolt, rivet, screw, piece of duct tape. Of course, if I ever fail, if they ever decide that they're sick of waiting me to catch up on my rent, you know, they could kick me to the curb and demand that I either move it or have it moved. And then this place ended up in a junkyard. My van, if I don't get it put in a proper parking place, they could send somebody out to tow it. And that's part of the reason I'm getting pissed off at Josh. He told me to take the thing and just move it into the parking. See, I want him to just move the van 100 feet. I don't care. He probably have to jump start it, but he can do that. I got cables out in that dang van. Just jump start it and then drive it over, park it in the parking space, and turn it off and leave it. And that would solve a big problem. But no. He's always too busy to got to run off and do something else somewhere else, God knows where. I wonder how many people he's got on a string like me. He's over at somebody else's house. Will you finish doing this, that, or the other? And he's, oh, no, I got to run over to the do this. And meanwhile, run off in an entirely third direction. Right now, Josh, right now. Yeah, it's pushing distance if you got two people. It's a van, not a car. But, I'm going to have to beg him. I'm going to have to ask him. I'm going to have to nag him. I'm going to have to remind him. And maybe sometime between now and next spring, he'll just sort of amble over in this general direction and sort of give it a push. It's just making me bitter. Pretty much nothing wild-wired. Not doing too much. I came on close to midnight as it is. Spent the whole day sitting here in my desk waiting for this guy to show up and deliver some stuff I had him buy for me. And I gave him some money. I gave him a list, and it's been now. And every day he's been telling me, I'll be there in a couple. I'll be there tomorrow. I can't get him to do anything in any reasonable amount of time. But I can't afford to make him mad calling him out on it, because he's the only guy I can find who will actually do crap like this. Everybody else, I paid people, I paid one guy, Here, I'll pay you $40 to mow my lawn. Never showed back up. Crap like that all the time. And having to deal with it all the time is just aggravating me. I've got so many things, just 10,000 problems, and I can't even deal with one of them. Okay, might as well show you what I got stuff on your drawing there, Wild. I just haven't really picking at it a little bit while I've been waiting. I'm angry, tired, and my legs hurt. What pisses me off is that the guy gets here. I'm going to have pretty much no choice but to ask him to do something else for me. Because there's nobody else to ask. There's nothing worse than having to depend on, having to rely on somebody who is undependable. And I admit that over the course of my life, I try to be reliable. It's taken me a long time to learn to be more, in my and there's a little voice in the back of my head just reminded me of how unreliable I was when I was younger. Saying, well, there you go. See, you finally earned it there. Herpa derpa derpa. It's karma. I'm going like, shut up. I need my groceries. That about Triceratops for you? There you go. Give you an idea of where I'm going with your Triceratops there. Going to draw in saddle, a big wide saddle and saddlebags and reins. Thinking of having the reins attached to the horns. Maybe adding a little more detail around the scallop around its head. Oh, beg your pardon. Big yawn. You do realize one of those characters that you commissioned, she's riding a kangaroo. You realize that you're just gonna you're basically gonna rupture all her guts every time that thing jumps. Most of the reason I came online is I just needed some human contact. I needed to vent a good bit too, because I'm cranky, I'm angry. You don't realize you realize how much you need somebody around who can just do little crap, until you are unable to do it yourself. And there's this one kid in the neighborhood. She also does odd jobs. She started doing odd jobs for me. I pay her to do them. And I called her up and asked her if she could do a quick run to the grocery for me. And she was going to be out of town. Not a happy man. Just want you don't realize just the simplest things suddenly become an epic challenge. Like just running down to the store to get a couple of things, or getting somebody to run down to the store for you. It's so frustrating. And it makes you angry and frustrated, and you're just furious when people you ask to do something, they tell you to do it, and then they just screw off. And there's not a thing you can do about it. Can't even call them. They're not answering. Like I said, like I've been griping all day. There's got this one guy. I rely on him to do everything from mowing my lawn to running to the grocery store for me. But whenever I ask him to do something, it's God's own guess if he's going to do it this lunar year. It's one thing for somebody to come back a couple of hours out to pick up some groceries, but days. I give him my food card. I ask him, will you pick up, I give him my food card and I give him my grocery list. I say, will you please go get this? And he says, oh, sure. And I ask ahead of time, do you have anything else, anywhere else that you need to do today? He says, oh, no, I'm totally free today. And he just, just bleeps off and doesn't show back up for days. I'm not lying. I'm not exaggerating. And it will be 9 o'clock at night, and I finally call, and I said, I'll call him, and he won't answer his phone. And I'll call him, and he won't answer his phone. He won't answer his phone. He won't answer his phone. And finally, he'll answer his damn phone, and I'll ask him, where are you? And there'll be some bullshit excuse about how something incredibly vitally important came up, or no excuse at all. And he'll lie to me. He'll lie to me and tell me, oh, I'm right to the parking lot of the grocery store right now. I'll be in an hour. And then, oh, I can't do it today. I'll be by tomorrow morning. And tomorrow morning comes, and tomorrow afternoon comes, and tomorrow, and I've had to wait up to a week and a half for him to stop jerking around and come back with my groceries. And to top it all off, he'd be like, oh, I couldn't find this, this, or this. And then I look at the other items on the list, and several of those will be the wrong item. But by that point, I don't care anymore. I just give up and just put the stuff in the fridge and wait and get them to just go. And he is absolutely clueless to the fact how inconsiderate it is to do that. He doesn't. Just. I'm your friend. I'll do anything to help you. I'm your friend, Ralph. I'll do anything to help you, Ralph. Will you come back within the same 24-hour period with my food? When I ask you to pick up something, will you get it and bring it back? There were times I asked him to pick up pain meds after my operation. And he buggered off over that, too. Didn't show up until the next day. I'm trying to ride a Tylenol on this. After having a roto-rooter go up my urethra and into my kidneys. And lecturing and complaining wouldn't do any good. Complaining to him would not do any good. Just like most people nowadays, you just, no guilt over leaving somebody in the lurch. No guilt over lying about something. No guilt. You just get mad. You're just upset. I do pay him. I pay him to mow my lawn. I pay him every now and then. I try and reimburse him for his gas. He's usually like, oh, no, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about it. I'll go get his. But it doesn't seem to matter whether I pay him or not. I'll give him cash. Pay him, here's $10, here's $20, to cover, to cover gas and stuff, and you're going to do this. And make no mistake, whenever he's short on cash, he's always hovering around here. He'll drive by the neighborhood 2 or 3 times a week. He'll drive by the trailer 2 or 3 times a week, stick his head in. Hey, anything you need done? And I've got things that I have paid him cash to do. That he has not done yet, and it's been since last year. I know how the song and dance will go. I don't remember you paying me that. It's never reached the point where I've cornered him or yelled at him or anything, because I just don't have the energy. I don't have the, I'll sit here and gripe, but I just can't deal with it. He is the first person that I've managed to hire to do anything that has actually shown up after 2 or 3 times. Like I was telling him earlier, there are people I have hired to mow my lawn. I pay them, and after 2 or 3 times, suddenly I can't find them anymore. They move out of the trailer lot, or they stop coming by, or they just frickin' disappear. They're every summer you'll have a couple of kids who come by. Hey, mister, you need somebody to mow your lawn? And I say, sure. And I pay them, and they'll maybe mow it once, and then I can never find these kids again. It's like they vanished off the face of the earth. I live in Ohio. I'm just really angry right now. I'm really cranky and grumpy right now, and I'm just venting. I'll just have to, just like always, I'll deal. People deal with me, I'll deal with them. This is why people have kids. So they have somebody to send to the grocery store. That's why they do it. This is why people used to have big families living in the same house. At least when one of them was out of commission, the rest of them could chip in. But when you live on your own, when you're a bachelor living on your own, and your health suddenly goes shot, and you find yourself in my shoes, or lack of shoes, you know, finding somebody, you can't find anybody you can depend on anymore. If you ever could. I get the running feeling from some of these people that have, as where they consider people like me just a circumstantial potential supply for beer money, and that's as much as they think of me. Now, it's aggravating though. Just one minute Josh is, this guy is, nothing he won't do for you. Here, I can help you out with this. Oh, I got this. I got. You need your toaster broke. I can get you. I got this old toaster at my place here. That kind of stuff. And the next, like I said, I never imagined in my entire life that anybody could justify being a grocery list and then just buggering off for a week before getting around to actually coming back with the groceries. The climate is fairly mild in Ohio, so half of Ohio. It's not that cold. It's not like I live up on the Great Lakes. You go to Michigan. Real, you want just something simple. You just want, like you say, you want a box of donuts, or you maybe want you want some you want to go to the grocery, get some at the grocery store, fried chicken from the deli. So just $5-10. Nothing important, nothing true. Off the list. All the little casual things you used to do. Gee, I'm kind of, I'm kind of in the mood for ice cream. Drive down to the gas pump, get some, a pint of Ben and Jerry's. That's off the menu forever. Okay. Unless you can find a grocery store that delivers, and there are none in this area. Just quick, casual runs to the store and things like that. Gone. Everything has to be planned out for the month almost. I used to live in Florida for a while. I was like in my 20s. Wasn't too bad. I lived in Pensacola. Then I had to move back. Family crisis. Don't know why the hell I moved back. Couldn't think of anything more useless than a near homeless guy, unemployed guy. Just all I could do was stand around and look useless while everybody was having everybody else was having a breakdown. Ended up with my life derailed again for, it just, I don't know why. You have to be there for family. Why? So I can stand up there and suck up the food? And take up space? They don't need an unemployed homeless bum. They need they need therapists. They need doctors and nurses. They need they need funeral planners or family planners or legal advice or a home household help or any one of 1,000 things, none of which I could possibly provide. Yeah. It's not broken ankles, it's swollen. My legs are swollen up. I literally, my legs are the size of a butterball. They're that swollen below the knee. I could shrink them down. I could, I would have to be bedridden. When I was in the hospital, I was bedridden basically for a week, and they shrank way down. But who can stay in bed? Who can just stay in bed for a week or 2 weeks like that? Yeah. The church ended up rounding up money and sending me a bus ticket back. Yeah, and I had to leave, Pensacola, and I was staying at a friend's house, so I didn't have anything. I had to, and I had just started a job as a house cleaner in a motel. I'd only been employed a day when the crisis came down. I hate being helpless. I hate being dependent. And it frustrates me that I keep hearing about all these ways. You hear about the grocery thing. That's the one I dwell on the most. Because I just found out, I looked it up. Walmart is advertising everywhere. We have grocery delivery in many areas. Kroger's advertising. Oh, in many areas, maybe yours, we have grocery delivery. Just look it up. And I go on the website and look it up. Not in this town, sucker. And I'm so frustrated. They have the service, but just not for me. That's what it always feels like. Oh, we have this service. We have this assistance program. We have this utility. We have this option, just not for you. Am I any good at English? I speak it. I'm sorry. I have been whining and I've been pissing and moaning all night. Well, what I was going to do is when he arrived and finally dropped off that stuff today, I was going to ask him if he could run down to the store and pick up like a gallon of milk and some ketchup and a loaf of bread. Maybe pick up get some chicken from the deli or something for dinner, and just little things like that. I can't do that. because he decided to bugger off and put off delivering stuff I asked for again for another day. And I just can't get past it. I just can't get over it. You know, at one point, until I finally got my mailbox moved to my front door. You see, I live in a trailer park with, and all the mailboxes are in this little shelter up at the front entry of the trailer park. And up until fairly, a few months ago, I had to basically waddle my way down there to get my mail. And literally, it is too far to walk for me anymore. Hurts too much. And I finally got my mailbox moved down here. After a certain point, for a short while there, what I would do is that there's a pizza place near here. I would order some little dinky thing, I would order some little rinky place some order at the pizza place, and the pizza place is literally just down the road from from the trailer park. Not even half a mile. And the delivery guy would come out and drop off my sandwich or whatever. And I'd say, "Hey, could you do me a favor?" And I'd give him the key to my post office to my mailbox. So and he would run down there. He just scoot down there and bring me my mail. Now, that's what I had to resort to. I'd try and give him a tip if I could. But that's the kind of crap I resorted to. And it kills me now. Just I'm look, I can speak English. I'm fairly decent at spelling, but I suspect that a lot of the more well, there you go. I don't know if editor is the correct term. I think spell checker. Craigslist? No, I've never tried Craigslist. Before I do any kind of advertising for stuff like that, I should probably get a little bit of cash as a little bankroll of a little stack of $10-$20 bills for paying for that kind of thing. I've never used Craigslist. The stories I've heard are a little alarming. I would like to get somebody who lives in this neighborhood, lives in this trailer park, because I hate, it's one thing to ask somebody who lives next door, could you run down to the store for me? Having to ask somebody who lives 10 miles away to drive to your place, pick up the, and then, just to pick up a gallon of milk. Life is awkward. Being an editor, I could do spelling checks and such, and maybe the more egregious examples of bad grammar. I suppose I could do that. Grade school or early high school level editorial services. That's the thought. Uh, where do you go for that kind of work? Where do you look for it? How do you advertise for it? How do you charge for it? So many dollars per 10,000 words. Well, I kind of got, I got my full of things I'm supposed to be doing. Come to think of it, that's a sad thing. Get off my duff and start working on it. Hmm. Questions. Uh-huh. Okay. I see what I was doing wrong. It's an interesting suggestion at the very least. I'll say that much. Just one post I saw. I say, back in the 80s and 90s, they say don't call up, don't talk to strangers on the internet, don't get in a stranger's car, right? And nowadays, what are we doing? We're calling up complete strangers to get in their car and go places. I kind of worry about that. Craigslist. You go trying to get somebody to be like a housekeeper or something. You end up with that chick from Misery. I'm a little old-fashioned. I still, part of me just says, go with people you at least know, you recognize from your neighborhood kind of thing. Which didn't work out too well for John Wayne Gacy's neighbors. So there you have it. Jeffrey Dahmer. He's so nice. He's so quiet, just so friendly with everybody in the neighborhood. And he has such lovely barbecue recipes. You know, I was telling you the other night about this game I love to play is called WildStar, and the big central theme of it is that it's the world. It turns out that whichever side you play, it turns out that the planet Nexus has this terrible secret that there is this. You are contacted by this entity, this ghostly woman who calls herself Drusera. And it turns out that the Eldon, the ancient precursor race, had been using Nexus as a gigantic experiment to create basically a demigod, a being who would be so powerful that the laws of physics were barely a suggestion, and Drusera was the result. And that there are two entities, but the problem is that something else was created called the Entity, and basically you have the good being, cosmic being Drusera, and who is asking for your help because of this evil creature called the Entity that basically wants to turn the universe into a gigantic tumor. And well, I just learned, I've been poking around some of the online info on the game lore, and it turns out that there's been a recent revelation in the gameplay, and it turns out that Drusera and the Entity are both in the same body. So essentially, there's this little grim, dark discovery that and this huge organic body is imprisoned under what is known as the light. This gigantic, unbelievably huge flying stone pillar out in the middle of one of the territories. And it's the only thing that keeps the Entity from rampaging across the universe. Anyway, just why did they have to go there? This, I read this and why did they have to go there? Why? Yeah, I'm just so tired of the grimdark. Seems like all the entertainment comes now. It's got to be grim and gritty and grimdark, and everything's morally ambiguous, and the good side. They claim they're trying to, it's just morally ambiguous. No good guys and no bad guys. But I'm looking at it, and it seems like the whole point of the effort, the whole thing they're doing, whether you're talking World of Warcraft or the World of Darkness games or WildStar or any of these other online games or video games or Bloodborne or Dark Souls or all these other things, even the one Skyrim, and it's always that they try and pass it off. We're trying to present more ambiguity, but what's the real end result is that the message is there's no such thing as good. There's tons of evil in the worlds they create, in their game worlds and in their story worlds. But the first thing you learn is there is no good. There is no real good. And if you think you found the good, they're actually corrupted and just as evil in some way as the bad guys. And they want it's like they want to kill the very idea that there is such a thing as good. This just isn't right. And it cannot be to the good. It cannot be to the good to immerse our culture in that attitude, in that belief that there is no real good. Now look what it's done to us already. We've got entire generations of people living in this country who cannot muster the moral certainty even to defend our own civilization from destruction. Because they sit around, but we've done horrible things in the past too, and we're just we're no better than the Muslim terrorists. Seriously, dead serious. And it's killing us. It is in danger of costing us everything. Because people have been so conditioned that they can't even believe in the right of their own civilization to exist. This is the consequence of decades of teaching our kids that our founding fathers were all villains. The founding fathers owned slaves. And they laid the groundwork that resulted in the end of slavery. They didn't let women vote. Well, nobody could vote back then. Before them, nobody voted. Look at that. We can't even believe in the rightness of our own cause anymore. Because believing in your own country is racism. You're an evil bigot if you believe that the United States is a great country. And to all the accomplishments, we went there. We're the reason the world, we're the reason that the world isn't speaking German right now. We went in, we won World War II. You got these days, oh, you're discounting all the efforts that the other allies put in. Yeah. Excuse me. If we hadn't showed up, they would have been screwed. That would have been it. They had marched all the way through Europe to France. And they were bombing the absolute crap out of Great Britain. And the only reason Great Britain held out is because of all of the Lend-Lease Act, because we gave them enough resources to get by. And even then, it was a close thing. They would not have held out for much longer. Pardon. So yeah, I don't apologize for saying that America won World War II. You take, and that war would have been lost. Our country was the first country where the slave owning class fought to end slavery. Ours was the first, anyway. We did a lot of sin, we committed a lot of sins as a nation, but we went out of our way to correct them when it came down to it. invented the airplane, put men on the moon. America did and does great things. Hell, it was thanks to us for the first time in human history that women voted in Afghanistan. What a damned shame that the anti-American son of a bitch who sat in the White House right afterwards dragged us out before we could finish the work of rebuilding the country. What might have been. Now, to be fair, let's give Great Britain the props it did earn. Built a world. You know, they built an empire, and they civilized a lot of nations. Let's put it this way: one of my favorite stories is that how they put an end to the practice in India, burning a widow to death on her funeral pyre. The apologists and the Indian people of India came forward. Well, you can stop this. This is our culture, our tradition. And in charge at times said, "Yes. Oh well, very much so. Quite true. However, in my culture, we hang people who murder women. And you practice your tradition, we'll practice ours." Let me look at this. I want to see something about the horns. Let's see, Triceratops. Oh, I know what. The horns are bent the wrong way. Look at that. Look at that. Here. They go this way. And they're up over the eyes, not to the side. I couldn't feel a bug about that. I just... fiddle with that a bit. That was what was bugging me. The horns are supposed to be over the eyes, not to the sides of them. And I kept thinking, that makes the head look too wide.
Oh, that's how it goes. Hmm?
You know, they really don't know what the dinosaurs look. Not a clue what the dinosaurs looked like. As one paleontologist pointed out, that they tend to put the... Well, he illustrated by putting up the skeleton of a cow and building up around it the same way they did around the dinosaur bones. He pointed out they put the absolute minimum of flesh over the bones of the dinosaur. And what he came up, he used the same procedure with making a cow out of a cow skeleton, and it was the freakiest looking, skinny, rail thin looking thing. Looked nothing like a cow. And he did it with several others, a dog, a cat, and a couple others. And he said they make the mistake, they don't put enough meat on the bones. To put it mildly. They don't build these critters. The assumptions they make about how how the structure of just doesn't really pan out the same way with live creatures we know about today. And I saw an even freakier. Basically, he pointed out you take a Tyrannosaurus Rex and cover it with fluff. And if you take a Tyrannosaurus Rex and cover it with fluff, it looks exactly like a giant baby chick. It's just one of those little mind-blowing things, Cheep, cheep! Let me see if I can find. Let's see, cow dinosaur. No, that's not it. Cow rebuilt like dinosaur. Ah, here we go. We won't be able to recognize. There. Visit page. Here we go. Here we go. Modern like dinosaur. That'd be a baboon. Now, to be fair, they say this is what Hollywood thinks dinosaurs look like. Well, that's what paleontologists. This is what scientists thought dinosaurs looked like, and most of them still do. And this is a zebra. And here we have the cow. And this is what that looks like if you render it like a dinosaur. I'm on computer. And this is what a swan would look like. Here's a python, and, well, here's an elephant. If you went by the skeleton of an elephant, you'd have no idea that there was such a thing as a trunk. For that matter, for all they know, a tyrannosaur has tentacles lining its back. And this is what an iguana would like with fur. Okay, they contend a lot of dinosaurs had feathers. So, if dinosaurs had feathers, a lot more dinosaurs would be fossilized with feathers. And we only know of like 2 fossilized forms, the ox being one of them. They've started pumping this idea dinosaurs had feathers to push the whole idea that birds are dinosaurs. No, it's bad science. Because if dinosaurs, the vast majority of dinosaurs we've seen fossilized would have at least a few feathers fossilized along with their skeletons. And this is basically what a human being would look like if they rendered it from the skeleton the same way we render dinosaurs. Eek! Small. For the body, I'll fiddle with that a little bit later. Tweak a few things, see if I can increase. You talk a lot with British people, and the things they say about America is just so disparaging. And I'm like, shut up. You're an island. You're an island. You had an empire that's globe, and you blew it. And you are back to what you always were, an island. Our major cities literally eat and poop your national GDP every day. I can enlarge the head a little. I'm going to end up sitting up all night and sleeping in my chair again. And he'll not show up. Damn it, what I wouldn't give just to be... it's driving me crazy. There's something like, a box of donuts. A box of donuts. You know why? Because you have to go through, you're a grocery shopping guy, having come all the way over here, and and just rigmarole just for that. It's so frustrating. Nobody around here, and it's so frustrating. I've spent nearly all of my life, I've been, if I wanted something, if I needed something, I could just hop in my car and drive down, or I could just walk down just a couple of blocks and go to a little dollar store, get what I needed, get what I wanted. Here, now, just getting a gallon of milk or a bottle of ketchup when I run out is, like I said, you know, I have to plot out, you know, I have to try and do all my grocery shopping in one go. And hope that nothing comes up in the meanwhile. And, you know, and hey, if you have, you know, you suddenly get a craving for Kentucky Fried Chicken, you're out of luck, buddy, until next month. The thing of it is, if I make the head large enough to be proper, it'll hide his legs entirely. The rider's legs entirely. I could have him sit on the head. And still, I'll do what I can with it. Got to admire the utility of it. That is a serious protection for the rider. I'll work out. Won't be able to see his boots. But, there we go. Let's see here. You got a big old head now. I'll have to tinker with the horns a little bit. Worry about that later. File, save what I've got so far. Gotta add like a saddle and some reins and, you know, tack. He's Samurai Jack. I'm glad I didn't watch any of the new Samurai Jack episodes. The ending just sucked. The final I read about the final episode. Oh, you assholes, you know. You sadistic bastards. Never mind the fact that Samurai Jack changed the footage. He basically erased he didn't just erase the girl. He erased everybody that he met in the future. Well, you jerks. You know? What pisses me off is I'm going to have to struggle to stay, you know, I'm going to have to absolutely be sure to be awake because he's demonstrated that he will come by, knock on the door, even though he knows I could be nowhere else, and then he'll just leave. Or I knocked on the door real loud and I yelled for you, but you didn't answer. Well, leave the shit here. You know that, the door is unlocked. Just leave the stuff on the front porch or even put it inside. I need the shit. Or at least stick your head in the door and make sure that I ain't lying dead in the middle of my kitchen floor. Just, Thing of it is, if I ask him to go pick up, I don't even dare ask him to pick up a gallon of milk and a box of donuts for me like I want. Because, fuck off, he'll just bugger off again. And I won't see those donuts until Christmas. In case you haven't guessed, I'm cranky. I need my donuts. Need some milk. Need ketchup too. I'm out of ketchup. You know, when you're a bachelor, you run out of like ketchup and mustard and Miracle Whip, man. You just up a creek. Seriously, we use my family always ketchup as an ingredient in just everything. Spaghetti sauce, barbecue. It's 3 in the morning. I want a box of cream, not Bavarian cream. Bavarian cream is not cream. It is not whipped cream. It is pudding. Do not give me Bavarian cream filled. Do not give me Boston cream filled. Give me, the fluffy cream filled. The whipped cream filled. The buttercream frosting cream filled donuts. But what I end up doing is I ask him to go pick up one of their regular, mixed boxes, because I don't want, if I ask him to do something as intellectually involved as picking out a dozen donuts out of the display, he's going to watch this video. So, it's going to be my luck. He's going to watch this video and he's going to get pissed off, and I'm not going to be able to even get him to show up to mow the lawn. Or anything else ever again. Screw my life. I'm gonna Okay, it is 3 in the morning, and I have vented my spleen all over the place. To no good end, I suppose. That drawing is over 18 years old. That right there, the dancing kitty. I used to draw characters very, 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 very thin. Ridiculously thin. I miss having any freedom. I want, it drives me crazy. It's just, everything if I want something, it's there, but it is literally everything is just out of my reach. Everything I have come to rely on, everything I can used to be able to do, everything has been pulled just out of my reach, and it's never coming back. I used to dream of traveling. I used to dream of visiting historical sites in the United States. I used to dream of seeing the Grand Canyon and Mount Rushmore and Yellowstone, and I dreamed of seeing New York City and seeing the Statue of Liberty and Times Square and all those other things. And there was always something that was more important that had to be done now. And every time I made any effort in that direction, into making myself able to travel, able to be free, just everybody who knew better got in my way. You really need to be doing this instead. And I listened, and I was left without a way to do anything. And now here I am. And even if I was able to get the money together, even if I was able, it's just not going to happen anymore. I'm never going to see all the things I wanted to see. And I hate even going outdoors because I look like a freak. And people look at me, they see this fat old guy with these horribly deformed legs, and there's no sympathy in people's eyes. They see a guy who, who's over, who's not, washboard thin, and the first assumption when they look at me is, I can practically read their mind, is, oh man, he's messed himself up. Never mind, his condition is inherited, and that there's no cure for it. There's no real treatment for it. And even if I was rail thin, my legs would still be a mess. And it just destroys me a little bit inside. I hate going out. I hated, even before when I was still able to get out, I hated going out in public. I would wrap my legs up in ace bandages to try and compress them, but it was also to hide them. Because I couldn't wear pants over them. I had to wear shorts because, and as it was, it took an ordeal to fit the pants up over the leg, and I would wrap my legs up and stuff, and I would go at people just gawking at my at these swollen legs, and children were the worst. And knowing that you were going out in public looking like one of these people that you've seen these websites, the freaks of Walmart kind of websites, and knowing that you'd be the image of the day if anybody photographed you. I used to shop there by myself all the time. And for the longest time, even after I would still be able to walk. I would lean against a grocery cart and just walk up and down the aisles getting my stuff. And then I finally broke down. The most embarrassing day of my life was when I finally had to break down and use one of those electric carts for the first time. One of those little I got over that quick, but it was embarrassing. I felt so guilty for using the damn things because I doubt I could fit my legs together onto the dang things now. And now I've reached a point where I can't even squeeze my legs under the dashboard of the car to drive it. Even my van, the foot space, the floor space is too small. Feet can't even touch the pedals. And driving a car in flip-flops or barefoot is such a hot idea anyway. But I did it because I had to. Now I can't do it at all. If I could get my hands on a floor length robe or toga, just as long as it hides my legs. I'm tempted to just. I told you when I was up, I was bedridden. Well, compared to what they are now, if I stayed another week, they might have been almost normal. I had, skin hanging on, but at least, you know, of course, it didn't take a day after I started walking around again that they were swollen back up. It's just fluid pooling in my legs. If I'd have just had some way of binding them up tight before they started swelling again, of course, I would have had to keep them that way 24/7, and that's not feasible either. Listen, unless you are independently affluent, living with something like this is a lose-lose proposition. I almost wonder if I'd be better off just having my legs amputated. I wouldn't have much more trouble getting around. I'd just be shorter. With my luck, though, once I had them chop my legs off, my lymph problems, I'd start, my head would start swelling up or something. Or I'd just blow it up all over. My arms turn out like Popeye. And I'm just wondering when the next time I'm going to get an infection in my leg. Just visiting I was supposed to go have a follow-up visit with my doctor, make an appointment and visit him after, you know, just office for him to make me sit and wait in a waiting room, all and then come there and poke at me for 15 minutes. Or rather have his nurses come in and poke at me for 10, and then him come and look at me for 5. There's just getting back and forth is real. And it's humiliating, just having to call up a taxi company to have them bring out a van to haul your huge mutated fat ass out there. Or worse, an ambulance. They had to call it. They needed to bring an ambulance out just to transport me back and forth for my operations. Because I tried to call up medical transport, and those assholes came out. I told them ahead of time. I'm a big guy. I can't fit in a regular car. So what do they send out? Some fat guy driving a regular car. Well, he could fit in. But I told him I couldn't even fit 1 foot in, and just. And then I asked him to send out a van, and well, our vans aren't rated for your fat ass, They're a medical transport company, and the seats in their vans aren't rated to handle the weight of their patients. So they ended up having to hire an ambulance company to haul me back and forth, and the damned ambulance company send out an ambulance. They didn't send out with an extra large gurney. And they'd send me out with one of those little bitty skinny ones for like the emaciated 100-year-old grannies, and the ambulance drivers would literally have to strap side by side together so that they wouldn't fall off the sides of the gurney. And it was a 2-hour drive both ways, so you can imagine what shape my bladder was in. Couldn't use the the portable urinal they had, because you try and use those things when you're strapped down flat. It took me 3 or 4 trips to figure out how to use one of those darn things, and a contortionist act to do it. And at one they managed to up delivering me someplace, and they went to the wrong damn hospital. And they left me sitting there until I finally peed myself. And I'm saying, just great. Just, all that was left would be for them to strip me naked and leave me strapped on the street. So, and you hate doing anything to deal with it. You know, everybody says, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you call this company? Why don't you put it up an ad? Why don't you do this? Because every time you do something like that, that's another group of people you have to bring into your humiliating, embarrassing, zero dignity life. And explain to them why you can't haul your lumpen arse around to the grocery store, or having them come in and see you sitting there wearing the only thing you have is a hospital gown, and your swollen lumpy legs sticking out there like like 2 Christmas hams, and having them to have to purchase medical crap for you, because and every person you get involved in is just another circle of people who know about your humiliating situation. And the sympathy, I can, but you know that the sympathy is always mixed with just disgust. Because you look in the mirror and you're revolted at what you've let happen to you, and what has happened to you, and what you've let happen to you, even though you know that pretty much you couldn't have prevented what you've become. You know, all in the world, all the healthy, I could have been a slim good body for my entire life, and it wouldn't have prevented me from having tachycardia. It was a congenital defect. It was a defect born innately into the nerves in my heart. All the clean living in the world didn't prevent me from getting gallstones and from having to have my gallbladder removed, or ending up with a hernia. First a hernia down in my groin, then one right in my belly button basically blew out. And the swelling in my legs, inherited it from my father's side of the family. Both my grandmother had it, my great aunt had it. I'm just thankful to God that I haven't gotten diabetes yet, considering the number of diabetics in our family tree. And everything that goes wrong with your body adds up, and it makes everything else worse. You know, so you diet and exercise. That's great when your body actually functions enough that you can exercise. And you try living on, as you know, when you're stuck with a sedentary lifestyle, your calorie count has to drop through the basement to even come close to making you lose weight. And at some point you say, screw it. You know, you just eat enough to keep yourself full. You eat to keep yourself full, and you eat so that you don't, just to taste something good once in a while, and just get some comfort food in you, and so you don't, so you don't want to throw yourself off the roof. And you can't even get that. Oh my God! You've seen it in my 600-pound life, and you wonder who was feeding her. You don't have to. You don't have to eat that much. You know, after a certain point, you don't have to eat that much to gain weight. That's the horrible thing. And I think I weigh 500 pounds, close to it. I haven't weighed myself recently. Last time I got weighed, 493. I've probably lost a few pounds since the operation, but I think at least I have no idea how much weight. It's probably I am tempted to say somewhere at least 50 pounds of my weight is in my legs, maybe even 100 pounds of my weight, just from the bloating in my legs. People wonder why the poor people in America are fat. Two reasons. Cheap food is fattening, and two, because they're frickin' miserable. I mean, you're scratching for everything, and you're not even allowed to have a Twinkie. You know, it's unsurprising that many of them go, screw it, give me the Hostess Ho Hos. I hate myself sometimes. I hate I hate how I've failed to hold everything together. I can't even, couldn't even hold my own body together. It's just hard. I just don't have the will. I just don't have the will. You've got enough strength. Everybody has just enough strength to deal with a certain number of things, a certain number of challenges in their life, a certain number of troubles. And I could live with being fat. I could live with being fat, but being fat and being half crippled, that's just too dang much. I could deal with being fat and poor. Being fat, poor, and crippled? No. I'm looking at this picture, always your little girl, and I just realized that the guy's legs, one of them is half the length of the other, the way he's sitting. And I just want to poke my eyes out now. Okay, I apologize to you. I just have not been Mr. Upbeat tonight. I apologize. I'm just, like I said, it was a bad day. It's not been a very good night. And I've been dealing with a lot of frustrations, and they're all pretty much coming to a head. I just hope that maybe tomorrow will be better. I just hope tomorrow is better. Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for putting up with my whining, vetching, and pissing and moaning. Tonight was just a vent my spleen night. I just needed to. God, Jesus willing, tomorrow will be better. I'll catch you all later. Y'all take care and have a good night.